In this video, I'm going to present a lesson on basic research questions. Basic research questions. Research is a method through which answers by elaborating for questions or inquiries such as what, where, how, when, how much are sought using scientific and trustworthy methods. Hence, in a particular study problem or research topic, there may be plenty of questions that need answers through investigation. These questions are known as basic research questions. In light of this, in a particular research topic, there might be plenty of questions that can be raised. However, the research study cannot find out all answers for all those questions that could be raised. Therefore, it is wise to attempt to get answers for certain basic and key questions that hold sub-questions in them. Hence, the basic research question should be the major questions which are representative for other sub-questions, and if these basic research questions get answers, the answer of their sub-questions could be also found out easily. The basic research questions has its own importance. Some of the following are the significance of basic research questions. The first one, for instance, it helps the researcher to organize, analyze, link the activities and pinpoint the correct direction. Another importance is it helps the researcher to develop the research scope, limitations, and delimitations. And also it helps the research to concentrate on the topic under investigation. It also helps the researcher to develop report framework for the research project. Not only this, but also it aids the researcher in identification of pertinent and trustworthy data. There are sub-steps that we should follow when we undertake or write a research questions. The following are some of these steps to be followed to develop basic research questions. Steps when you say one after the other. We have to do the first thing is first and the second thing is next. The first one, as a researcher, you should do is to identify and determine the research topic. The second one is you, as a researcher, should list down all possible questions related to topic under investigation. The third one is grouping or clustering those listed down questions based on their similarities. And then it is expected from you to select those you wish to get answers questions for, but highly directly related to the topic under investigation from the clustered lists of questions. Finally, you as a researcher should revise those selected basic research questions and write briefly. We are going to see some examples. For instance, let us begin with one research title, which is read as Assessing Harmful Traditional Practices in Dukem Town. Now, for this research title, what are the possible research questions to be developed? For instance, number one, what are the most prevalent and severe HTPs in Dukem Town? This can be the first question. This means there are different types of HTPs. Among those HTPs, which one is prevailing in this town? That is what the research or the study is going to answer. The second one is what are the major impacts of HTPs on the victims in Dukem Town? That means harmful traditional practices impact It brings about impact. So what are those impacts that are exhibited in that town? The third possible basic research questions may be, what are the major reasons given for practicing harmful traditional practices in Dukem town? That means, what are the reasons behind? This should be also investigated. Another is, or the fourth one might be, which population groups are usually most affected by many of the HTTPs in Dukem town? This means there are different population groups such as women, children, youth, old, the poor, the rich. Which type of people are highly influenced or affected by these harmful traditional practices in that specific town? This is also this can be also one of the basic research questions. The last but not the least one is, what are mechanisms to prevent the occurrence of HTTPs in Dukem town? That means, finally, whenever we undertake research, we have to know the reason. We have to know what is getting on, what is happening, the reason for that, and also the possible solutions or mechanisms to solve that problems. That's why in number 5, or question number 5, it is the mechanism that is going to be put as a research question. Here, note that it is written in order from what to do first up to what to do the last. For instance, the number 5, question number 5 is read as, what are mechanisms to prevent the occurrence of HTTPs in Dukem town? This cannot be the first one. This cannot be the first one. And also the first one, which is read as, what are the most prevalent and severe HTTPs in Dukem town? This cannot be also the last. The first should be the first, the second should be the second. That is also what should be considered or taken into consideration when we write or develop basic research questions. Let us see also another example of basic research questions. The research title is read as, the impact of harmful traditional practice on the girl child in Tanduro district. Here, it is not only stating about harmful traditional practices, but also the harmful traditional practices which occurs or happens on the girl child. One, it is a girl, the female. Third, it is on the child. We are not going to study all what is happening on the old age or the married women and the like. It is we are not going to also study the harmful traditional practices on the boys, simply on the girl child. This is what it is specified. It is also in Tanduro district. So the possible basic research questions for this particular research title might be the following. By the way, it does not mean there is only one way of writing basic research question. Depends. For example, these 5 are what a researcher already designed. But another researcher for the same type of research or for the same research title might develop another basic research questions. So basic research questions for a particular research style should not necessarily be the same. That should be kept in mind of a researcher. Okay, now let us see the first basic research questions that the researcher already written. The first one is, what are the manifestations of traditionally condoned forms of discrimination and violence on the girl child in Tanduro district? Now, the first question is, all the discrimination and violence that is manifested as a result of traditional practices in that specific district. So the researcher wants to study the manifestation of traditional content. The second basic research questions that the researcher puts or wants to emphasize at is, what does the practice involve? There are many practices that involve or take place regarding more traditional practices. So what does those practices involve? What are those practices, in other words? The third one is, what are the commonly advanced justification for practicing? That means the society is practicing harmful traditional practice on the girl. What are the reasons behind for practicing these HTPs? This is what the researcher wants to investigate. The fourth one is, what are the encouraging development in challenging harmful traditional practices? This is also what the researcher wants to study, to investigate, to examine. The last one, the researcher put as one of basic research questions is, what are the impact of harmful traditional practices on the girl child in Tadru district? So it could be written in this way and the other way. There are certain tips or notes that better to, as a researcher, you should know. Say, even though the basic research questions are developed prior to beginning data gathering during the proposal development period, it is wise to improve it throughout the research processes. The second one is limiting number of questions. That means note that the basic research question should be brief and concise, say from 3 to 5 in number. Sometimes 2, sometimes 3, sometimes 4 or 5 basic research questions are enough. Another one is regarding about the focus on possible answers. That means the researcher, while developing basic research questions, should not worry about the possible answers that will come next. This is because the main reasons for undertaking research is to get possible answers or responses or solutions for the questions or basic questions that are raised through scientific methods. Thank you for your attention. Don't forget to subscribe my YouTube channel. I sincerely appreciate your time and consideration. See you in the remaining videos. Bye until then.